Got RootCon coming up in 3 days, and I'm heading out there. So is my buddy Perry.
Hi, I'm also going to RootCon, and my name is Perry.
That it is. And Perry, first of all, hasn't played Root in a minute, but second of all, I don't think has ever played a good 5-player game of Root. And the tournament at RootCon is 5-player. I don't have a ton of experience with 5-player myself, at least compared to 4-player. So we figured we'd run through a mock draft like the one that I posted last week on the Autumn map. We're going to be doing this one on the Lake map. We've got the draft here. We've got the Rats, Cats, Crows, Woodland Alliance, Eerie, and Lizards. The rules for the tournament, the Crows do have the 3 plots of each type. Vagabond has Despot Infamy. That's not relevant here. And they said they believe they got rid of the rule that blocks the last white faction as long as there's more than one red faction in the draft. So we're going to keep the Lizards unlocked, although I doubt that's going to really be relevant in this game anyway. Let's go ahead and shuffle the deck and draw the hand for seat number 5. Get 5 cards. Whoa. Fox Partisans. The Anvil. That's good. False Orders. Travel Gear. Root Tea. Okay, so I know it's a 5-player game.
Gotta go Rats, though, with a starting hand like that.
Sticking out to me as a pretty good Rats hand, I feel like, yeah. You got 2 prowess items, you got False Orders and Fox Partisans. I mean, that's like the holy trinity of starting Foxcrafts. You got 1 Fox Workshop, you can get all 3 of those cards. Although you probably would want to keep the Root Tea as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think Root Tea and Travel Gear both would be useful if you're able to hold on to them.
Travel Gears maybe, but the thing is the suits, right? So, you know, T is Mouse, Bunny for this boot, and then these 3 are all very good cards, but they're all Fox. So I feel like Fox is the best starting investment, personally. But we should also look at the clearing distribution. So Rat setup rules, if we are going to pick them. We're not obviously made up yet, but they have to choose a homeland clearing on the map badge that has 2+ clearings between it and enemy homelands, and then they basically put some warriors and their warlord and a stronghold in that clearing. The birds are an interesting consideration if we had a bird card, but we don't. And the other ones would be like, I could see maybe Woodland Alliance from this seat. The Lizards, Crows, and Cats just don't feel like they're going to get it done from the 5th seat.
The Woodland Alliance? Really?
I mean, maybe. Yeah, I could see Woodland Alliance if we had like a bad hand, but this seems like a good Rats hand.
Yeah.
Woodland Alliance on Lake map is also kind of rough because clearings 5 and 8 are such choke points on this map, and 7 of course, because the Cats could choose to put their keep in 5, 7, or 8 and completely bisect the map effectively for the Woodland Alliance, which is problematic.
Yeah.
Woodland Alliance also really would love to have boat builders on this map, so we should keep an eye out for boat builders. But I think Rats is probably the best pick. From last seat, Rats have a very good just setup in general because they set up in 1 clearing, which means you can't be messed with by extortion or anything else because the Corvids can't set up directly on your homeland. They also have the stubborn mood at the beginning, so there's really no incentive to battle them out of the gate, and so you are going to be able to keep your fighting force on that first turn most of the time. Well, pretty much all the time.
The only thing I'd worry about with a game with 5 players and probably 3 militant factions, because I imagine either the Crows or Lizards are going unpicked, is that it'll be hard to secure a lot of clearings for oppression.
It'll be tough, especially because the Crows and Lizards are both ones that like to get in your backline. I don't think the Cats are just as likely to go unpicked, or I do think they're just as likely to go unpicked as the Crows or Lizards are, personally, just because Cats and 5 players don't really mesh super well, especially with Rats and Birds knocking on your doorstep.
Yeah, I guess my bias is showing there.
Yeah, this seems like a rough spot to be in, no matter who you're playing, to be honest. And I feel like, you know, with no bird cards, I probably just go Rats. Yeah, it's going to be tough to score, but we do have a great start with these Foxcrafts. The T's hard to pass up on, too. I'm trying to think, like, the T's not worth anything unless we get a 3rd prowess item, right? Because of how the board works. You have 1 prowess by default, then 2 prowess when you get your first item, 2 prowess when you get your second item, and only when you get your third item do you then have 3 prowess. So the T is not actually worth anything unless we're able to get another T or crossbow or sword.
Well, if
which
you
is
start,
quite possible.
Remind me, the rats can choose any clearing right now. It doesn't
On
have,
the edge.
It does have to be on the edge?
Yes, has to be on the edge.
Well, say if you pick 4, then you can go to clearing 5 and 11 and burn those ruins with mobs, because there's no vagabond in the game competing for ruin items.
Yes, that is true. There's no vagabond in the game. I do worry, though, with the factions in the game that those mobs are going to get picked off before you get a turn. Crows are going to be looking for easy points. Birds are going to be looking for cardboard points. Also, the potential to lose Relentless in this game would really sting from the ruins, because Relentless is great for clearing out the back line, because you can move in battle and then move again to clear maybe even 2 clearings for oppression, because you clear out a clearing, then you move into an adjacent unoccupied clearing, something like that. Yeah, I think rats is probably the play. As far as where to set up, you've got 3 different fox edge clearings. I think fox is probably the best we're gonna get.
Certainly.
None of them have multiple building slots, but only 2 edge clearings on this map do, so luck wasn't really going to be in our favor there. I think we probably want to set up... here's the thing. Someone's probably going to move the ferry before we get a turn, so it's not really that big of a consideration to say, oh, 9's close to the ferry. I will say 4 is not close to the ferry, so we could either say 4 is good because it'll be easy to oppress and it's off the lake, or we could say that 4 is bad because we want to get to the lake more easily.
The thing I like about 4 is that, with regards to oppression, there's a lot of clearings there that you can get to without going through a choke point. So it'll be easier to lock down a large area, as opposed to if you go to clearing 9, then you can maybe get to clearing 1 and clearing 3, but then say the lizard's set up on 8 or 5, or there's a bird clump somewhere near there, it'd be hard to go through those clearings.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have as many to lock off for your own oppression.
There are many more clearings at the top of the map compared to down here, so I think 9's probably out of the question. And I think you're right. This is something I consider when I play the cats as well. I like to try and be over on this side more than this side, just because from 7 there's the 1 clearing up in the corner here, whereas there's 2 clearings over in this top right corner. So 6 and 4 would be a nice, sort of home base to fall back on. I feel pretty good about, given the circumstances, I don't think we could have done much better there.
Yeah.
Alright, so now strike those 5 cards from your mind, because now we're playing as the player in seat number 4. We don't know what cards the rats have in their hand.
Now those are some bird cards.
Those are some bird cards. So something nice about 4 that I didn't realize as well is we now deny the birds 1, so they can't start with the ferry.
Oh, because they have to be 2 away, yeah.
The crows would probably steal it anyway, but they can't set up in 1, which is nice. Birds or Woodland Alliance are sticking out immediately. Woodland Alliance just because we have that hand of birds that we can mobilize, which is really good.
And soup kitchens, which is one of the most pivotal cards in the entire game.
Yeah, gotta have your soup kitchens. 2 ambushes. League of Adventurous Mice is also good for Woodland Alliance, although I don't really like to hold on to cards and not mobilize them on the first turn with Woodland Alliance, unless it's like Propaganda Bureau maybe. Maybe like coins, but probably not. Let's do the Rabbit Ambush, League of Adventurous Mice, Soup Kitchens, Arms Trader, Bird Ambush. Alright.
So something Cole and I were talking about before we started this video was how the Woodland Alliance is one of the factions that actually gets a little bit stronger in 5-player games in some ways, because there are more factions moving around provoking sympathy or provoking outrage.
Yeah. The thing is, this is the lake map, which is, it might not be the Woodland Alliance's worst map. You could argue that's winter, but it's not one of their best maps at all.
Right.
You have the potential to get stuck in one area the whole time and just really be fighting to break out. So it would be important that wherever we set up, we're able to get a revolt in a good spot. 5, 7, and 8 would be the best ones, but I imagine a competent table is going to try and deny that if they can, and with 5 players, I'm sure they can do that. 4 other players. If we had boat builders, that's only 1 card, but a lakeside base would be great for spreading and also for organizing with. Yeah, if this was me, I think it's only between Woodland Alliance and birds, honestly.
Definitely.
Lizards are completely out of the question with 3 bird cards. And crows, I mean, League of Adventures Mice is nice, but you're not gonna want to play crows in the 4th seat here, I don't think.
In a different draft, I might consider picking the cats because you could get a couple of bird cards to give yourself extra actions in the future if you keep one to overwork with on your first turn, obviously.
Yeah.
But here, with such strong factions of the birds and Woodland Alliance available, I don't think it would be worth it, especially in a 5-player game.
Yeah. So let's try and think through, like, if we were to pick the birds, what would be the best setup, and see if that really even compares to just picking Woodland Alliance here. So the legal clearings, as far as setting up goes, are 2, 10, 8, 3, 12, and 9, I believe. So we got about half the map to work with.
And we'd have to do mouse, considering we don't have a fox.
Yeah, that's also really bad. And considering the fox are the closest ones to rats that aren't in this area, I think that honestly might... Well, no, that doesn't preclude birds, because you know that if you pick birds, there's going to be cats, crows, or lizards, 2 of those before you, and Woodland Alliance most likely going before you, so you're probably going to be able to get your turn 1 battle. The question is, are they able to make you work for 2 moves on your first turn? And the question is, do you care, or do they care if they do that?
I don't think there's ever going to be a situation where you'll have to put 2 and move.
I mean, it's possible. I just don't know if they find it worth it, right? Let's see. Lizards are probably going to be targeting like this area if they can, because these are nice. Well, do they want to be at the choke points though? There's not that many 2-slot clearings for lizards here. You got 6, you got 11, 5, 1, 10. Oh, you got 12 too. Okay, so everything on the lake is good, but those are also high traffic clearings. So
yeah.
Do the lizards really want to be there in a 5-player game where they're going to get, that's going to be, well, that could be good for them. I'm getting ahead of myself though. I feel like, obviously, you have a lot more agency when you pick the birds compared to when you pick the Woodland Alliance.
That's what I was thinking. I generally feel more comfortable picking militant factions when I can.
I also have that bias. And I think with the lizards, having their warrior dense clearings and their ability to stop any factions from moving through, that's bad for both of these factions. Getting stuck on those gardens if they do happen to be at choke points.
Something to consider too is if at any point the charismatic start were to turmoil, the Woodland Alliance is definitely going to be in the game. The crows have a good chance of being in the game, and if you go despot, that could be a lot of points to pick up in the end game.
I feel like though, if you turn one into despot and you have a chance, the rats just kind of wipe you into the ground. So. Possible.
Well, if you start over in clearing 8 on the left side, you're kind of far away, and if you keep your distance as the rats try and clear out their own area, they may not get a chance to stop you.
Yeah, the rats will be kind of preoccupied with their own back line, I imagine, for a while, between the crows and lizards and potentially cats, any of those. I feel like birds probably isn't bad here. I mean, God of War is always going to be good, right?
Yeah.
So, the question is between 8 and 3. I think 8's probably the better one. 3's a corner, so it gives you more options as far as... Well, no, it doesn't give you more options, but it gives you more mouse options, I should say, for your moves. Because we don't have a fox card in hand, and we're not guaranteed to draw a fox card on our first turn, which means we could very well be stuck in this area for a while.
Yeah.
And I'd prefer to have options of going either up or this way rather than everyone knowing we're going. Well, I guess they wouldn't know, but I don't think it matters that much.
I'd rather go for 3 just because then there's also the option of the mouse lakeside clearing in case the riverboat ends up there.
Yeah.
You'd be able to use your mouse move to get to another clearing on the
turn
lake.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. Alright, so let's go with birds in 3 then. Wipe these cards from your mind. They don't exist. We've now moved on. 2, faction number 3, and this is where it starts to get a little trickier, I think. I mean, Woodland Alliance is still clearly the strongest pick on the board, but I'm always leery of picking Woodland Alliance in games where you can just kind of get locked into a corner. But, that's kind of how it goes with them sometimes.
The setup so far So it's inadvertently been pretty good for the Wooden Alliance because the corners have been occupied by the birds and the rats.
We've got tunnels, boat builders,
Ooh.
crossbow, smuggler's trail, charm offensive. All right, well, so boat builders is nice. You don't know until you pick the Wooden Alliance if you're going to be able to get the spread that you want, right? So with this hand, the ideal spread is like 11, 7, 6 probably, because you're going to have the crossbow and a rabbit card being mobilized, and then you can hold on to boat builders and pray that you get a base up on your first turn. But the odds of being able to spread into 3 rabbit clearings on your first turn are not great, especially knowing that we have 3 rabbit cards in our hand already. The odds of us drawing through rabbit supporters or bird supporters diminishes, right? We could, what I like to do a lot when I play Wooden Alliance is like put 2 sympathy in like more threatening, quote unquote, I'm doing air quotes, clearings, so that they get prioritized. And then the one that I really want, the suit that I really want, is where I throw that third, like less potent, clearing. So
The only problem is that we only have Bunny aside from our 1 bird card that's not boat builders. So
right. So if we don't draw Bunny supporters, we would have to just mobilize the 2 birds, and that's still not a bad start. We just wouldn't get boat builders, which is fine. 2 birds is great because you get a guaranteed base if a sympathy stays on the board, and obviously in a place you want it, but you don't put sympathy in places you don't want a base on your first turn.
right.
This is also not a bad lizard's hand because we've got 3 separate double slot rabbit clearings. These 2 are right next to the rats, so I don't really like those as much as 1. 1 is interesting though.
Well, 6 or 11 could be good if you don't want to occupy a choke point, so that you can have a core base be left alone as the lizards to score consistently.
That's true. I do like the idea though of if we go 1. I don't like that we only have 3 cards of 1 suit though, because it really limits us to like putting all of our stuff into this clearing. If we had like 1 mouse card and 2 rabbit cards, that would be great, because then we could kind of start putting stuff in 5 too, because 5 locking down 1 if you're coming from the top is really nice. But I think with boat builders in hand, and more importantly with 2 bird cards in hand, I probably just go Woodland Alliance here.
Yeah. With boat builders alone, even if I didn't have a second bird card, I think I'd want to gamble my chances on a spread to try and set up Wooden Alliance boat builders on Lake Map.
I don't really love my odds with cats or crows here, and lizards feel like, well, the nice thing about lizards here is that the game's going to get drawn out by rats and birds kind of punching down at everyone else, because, their scoring's a bit slower, and so they got to make sure that they can keep the rest of the board down in order to keep up. And so that gives the lizards potentially the time they need to get across the finish line. But like I said, with only rabbit, you don't know what you're going to draw next turn. You might just keep drawing rabbit, and then by the time you're finally able to set up that second set of gardens, it's too late for you to keep pace. And so I think it would be foolish to not pick the Woodland Alliance while they're still available in the draft, personally. Yeah. So let's do that. So our first turn, I imagine we would keep in our hand 2 bird cards, of course, and then between these, Charm Offensive is probably the most valuable to deny to anyone else, so I'd probably hold on to that. Birds with Charm Offensive, they like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because like there's 4 bags. If it was a different item, maybe. But so we've got a mouse, a bird, and a rabbit. So I think we could probably go with like, you can go 6, 11, 5 and guarantee basically
But the rats have
that
to
you
provoke.
generate outrage twice
Yeah.
on the first turn, because the rats just get hemmed in. I think that's probably what I would do, because we can't really do the same thing for the birds anyway because of how they've set up, and also because of the suits. I think that's honestly a very solid start.
Yeah, that'd be kind of crazy.
Did I do this with the last hand? I don't remember. Saboteurs.
I think so.
Travel gear, mouse travel gear this time. Fox bag, fox dominance, and master engravers.
This feels like it could be an okay lizard's hand to me, especially starting with the dominance, so you can get your dominance swaps going right away.
Yes, although the only fox well, hold on. The lizards, whoops, that's the wrong button. The lizards just have to choose a homeland clearing that's not adjacent to enemy homeland, so we could start in 10.
Yeah. Now, remind me, do corvids craft before or after they plot?
they craft before they plot. They craft, I think it's the first step of their bird song, and plot is in, or maybe it's the last step of their bird song. It's in bird song, and then plotting is in daylight. They'd be really strong if they could plot and then craft. Well, not really strong, but significantly stronger than they are. You know what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Cats feels like, where would you even set up with this hand with cats? Would you take an aggressive keep position? Probably. I feel it kind of feels like you have to with this board. 7, keep in 7.
Yeah.
And then sawmill in 2, build a sawmill in 2 and overwork that on your first turn with a fox card. But lizards are probably better here just because the game can sort of happen around you and you don't require as many clearings to do what you want to do.
And if you get attacked by the strong rats or strong birds in another corner, it's not all bad for you.
Yeah.
Because it'll fuel your conspiracies.
Yep. And if you set up in 10 here, you do get the lizard spawning in 8, because adjacent to your homeland, and then the birds will almost certainly go battle that. But that being said, it's not like, if the lizards had a better hand here, it's not impossible to like try and force charismatic to put 2 cards and move. and if they had to, they would turmoil on this board actually, because I mean, they don't know this, but the birds don't have a fox card. The table doesn't know that though, so they probably won't put too much effort into it. And also,
Right.
The argument is like, well, no, because honestly, the rat scoring is going to get slowed down enough by crows, lizards, cats, the 2 of these 3 factions, that like the birds don't really have an argument to say like, you need us to police rats. The rats kind of get policed enough just by nature of it being a 5-player game, at least for the early game. It takes them a while to sort of clear out an area, at least in my experience. But yeah, I think lizards is probably the pick here. So let's grab lizards. Now we have to choose a starting outcast, so this is relevant, potentially. So starting outcast, we could use it to craft a card in our hand, maybe. We could use it to crusade to reinforce a clearing. We could use it to convert to slow down an enemy. No moles in this game, so like there's no like real urgency to convert. And there's nothing we can craft with a fox garden on our first turn anyway, so that's out of the question. I think the question really becomes, where would we want our next gardens to be, and can we reinforce them from here? The answer is no, because these are all single slot clearings. We would want them to be in 11, 1, or 5, or 12 really. So any of those, we can't reach them from where we are. So it's not ideal that, with lizards you like to have 2 clearings that can reinforce each other. We don't have that right now, but it's probably fine.
So do you think you'd want to head to 7 so you can try and get to 11 as soon as possible?
I mean, lizards aren't really great at moving. So like if I move a couple lizards out here, all I do is make clearing 10 weaker with no guarantee that these will ever even get to 11. Because, the outcast might never change.
I have very limited experience with the lizards. So
Yeah.
I can't say.
Harry doesn't like the lizards. Lizards are also my least favorite faction, to be fair. But, I've gotten some wins with them. They can do their thing. I think probably a mouse outcast, just because the birds are going to be in mouse, and you can cut down their warrior supply. Birds are looking to be the strongest on the board at the moment that you can really mess with anyway. And so like, you're probably just going to hold on to the acolytes, but if you were to use them, I'd probably use them to convert birds or something. Doesn't really seem like you have a good use for conspiracies on your first turn though.
So you'd angle to attack clearing 8 then right away? If the birds were to go there?
Just really anywhere, just to chip away at their warriors.
Okay.
Honestly. Or like if the rats go to 5, you immediately interrupt a press with a convert there. But again, that's probably not like super necessary. You probably just end up holding on to them, and this doesn't really mean that much. So
Okay.
I'm gonna go mouse, because I don't really see a better argument for bunny or fox.
Yeah, that makes enough sense to me.
The only thing I could see is like if it goes bunny hated, you could convert in bunny and then move crusade back to 10 with the raft, and then steal it from every faction but crows, basically.
Interesting.
That does waste your acolytes on your first turn though. You get a card out of it though. Honestly, I'd rather do that just on the off chance you feel like going for it.
Yeah, that would be pretty sweet if you were able to pull that off.
And because if it's not in your clearing, the majority of the late clearings are bunny. So you have the best odds of pulling that play off if it's bunny. So
yeah,
let's go with that. I like that better than just random converts for the sake of converting.
Yeah, that's clever.
All right, so now that brings us to seat number 1. Mouse Sword, Rabbit Partisans, Tunnels, Route T, Fox Ambush. Well, off the bat, no bird cards is bad for
Very
the cats.
bad, yeah.
Crows are a bad faction. However, we do have Rabbit Partisans, which will be good for finding cardboard points throughout the game. We do have Tunnels, which is also good for limiting the number of moves we need to take in order to get crows from one side of the board to the other and centralize them. They're both the same suit, which means a starting rabbit plot wouldn't be terrible to get one of those down right away, probably the Partisans. And then we hold that T in our hand and hope to craft that soonish as well. Yeah, so if we hold T in hand and craft Partisans, we'd have to discard Tunnels to recruit on our first turn, but that's not that bad. Tunnels is... It's more of like a gravy card. You don't really like super need it. It's just kind of like maybe there's 1 or 2 cool moves you can do with it.
You and your gravy.
Most of the time it's not really that important. Yeah, were you the one where I said that and you were like, who says that? What are you talking about?
That's right, and then I
Yeah.
found out that people do actually say that.
Yeah, they do. And I'm one of them now. I mean, maybe I'm biased towards crows because of I played them in a tournament recently. That was with a different deck. It was the Dawn and Dusk tournament. I maybe will have a video out about that at some point. I don't know yet. But cats, no bird cards with such limited space to carve out a backline already seems bad. There's not even like a way to set up our keep in a good spot, right? I can't think of one. Because if we were to do 11-5-1, we can't put our keep in 5.
Why not?
Because the keep cannot be adjacent to enemy homelands.
It can't?
Unless all of your homelands are adjacent to enemy homelands. So, put the keep token in one of your homelands not adjacent to an enemy homeland if able.
I see.
So, if we were to choose that, we couldn't put the keep in 5.
So you can't choose any of those bottleneck clearings 5, 7, or 8 because they're all adjacent to a homeland.
Yeah. We could do 8, 2, and 7, but that sounds horrible. And then we could put the keep in 7 or 8, but that just sounds like a bad time. What are we even setting up for there? Where's our backline? It doesn't exist. And then if we were to go for these more, I mean, keep on the lake isn't like the end of the world, I guess.
Your point about the back line, though, I think is good because the rats and the birds are already infesting those places you would want to lock down with the cats.
Either way, they're going to be behind you, and you're going to be, there's going to be a pincer movement of rats and birds coming at you from both sides. Then you got the Woodland Alliance to deal with, and it's like, and then crows, obviously the rats are going to be coming for you. They want that extra cardboard. The birds are going to be, hunting down that extra cardboard. But the Woodland Alliance being in the game is great for crows because oftentimes Woodland Alliance will have a spread that puts them in position to win on their next turn, and then crows come in, they're like, I have a sneaky craft, and then I battle a bunch of sympathy and I win, right? And sympathy is great because it's easy points. The easiest points you're ever going to get is crows, and you don't care about your cards really, unless you're protecting items that you want to craft for points. So I feel like crows are probably the pick. I love cats. It's just like 5-player cats makes me sad, and I mean I've seen them win. I know it can be done. I just don't feel confident in them with the options they have left available on this lake map. I feel like crows have the chance of being overlooked. Obviously, people can count, how many points you can score from plots, but rats don't have that many cards to use for exposure. Birds don't want to give up their cards for exposure because they want them for the decree. Lizards obviously don't want to give up their cards, and Woodland Alliance probably isn't going to be in the clearings that they want to be in order to expose. I guess they could spread in there and then expose, but they want their cards too to mobilize, train, everything.
Yeah.
So exposure probably isn't going to happen that much, honestly. And so then you just kind of have to position yourself in a way where the birds and rats are going to rather go after the Woodland Alliance for their easy points than you. And I think that's probably doable, to be honest.
I think it's favorable for the crows just based on the faction matchups.
Compared to cats, you mean?
Yeah, compared to the cats. But without a bird card in hand, I think that really seals the deal. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to pick cats here.
Yeah, it's a shame. So, I think our starting clearing would be 1.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was thinking the same thing.
So, if we select crows here, we'll have 3 of every plot, so we'll keep that in mind. We're setting up. I think we just go extortion in 1, get our card draw online quickly. So this one's an extortion. We'll put that there with our 1 crow. And then we get 1 crow and a clearing of each suit. The question is, would you rather put your plots next to each other or have them on the other side of the map? Because you could go 5, 9, 11, or put a second one in 1 to defend. What?
I think it would probably be good to have a little section of area to hold on to your plots in the beginning.
Yeah. The concern is that like once they're in there, they're coming for you. If you tried to plot in like 2, for example, you could maybe even extort the lizards cheekily. Now, do they waste a card guessing that it's an extortion? Probably not, because if they're wrong, they lose a card, which is what they lose from extortion anyway.
Well, you go first, so you can extort regardless, right?
Well, no, we're talking about second plot now. I guess.
Oh, right.
I guess we could do because we want to get the rabbit Partisan's Craft. Although we don't have to do that first turn.
Yeah, honestly, I think it might be better to
try and
just
extort
put
lizards.
A crow.
It's kind of fucked up.
Next to riverboats. Well, we can extort somebody else too. I mean, we
can't extort anybody else actually.
Why?
Because we can't set up in their homelands. You can't put your homeland in their homeland. The only faction that has warriors outside their homeland right now is lizards.
Getting a free card to kick the game off from first turn extortion is definitely appealing.
Yeah, but is it worth pissing the lizards off for the entirety of the game?
What are lizards gonna do to you if you piss them off?
If there's a king-making situation, I know who they're not gonna pick, and it's not gonna be the crows. Because lizards, if they really want to, if they have the opportunity, they can convert your crows, and then you just can't flip. Because you need to have a crow in the clearing with the plot to flip it. I don't think it's worth starting that fight.
If you're going to win the game, the lizards will always convert your crows anyway.
Yes, but...
This is exclusively if you're in a situation where they can stop you from winning for a turn and then guarantee, say, birds win or rats win.
What do you think your odds of winning with lizards are if you start the game with 2 cards? Like, I feel like they might just be, hell-bent on destruction from the beginning of the game.
But the greater enemy is obviously the rats and the birds. You can't pick on the poor little crows.
But if they're already resigned to the fact that they're not going to be able to catch up, right?
I mean, Root takes a long time to play. Who knows?
Lizards need a long time to catch up. I don't think it's worth it, to be honest. Yeah, because also you got to consider the birds are going to be going this way. They're going to be getting their battle. So the next turn they're going to be battling your extortion for a point, most likely. This way, the birds are herded towards the lizards, which means maybe the rats make their way down towards you, but maybe they don't, right? And so there's a chance that extortion stays on the board for longer.
Well, if you extort in 7, you could get the card and the craft, right?
Yeah.
You just wouldn't have access to the boat.
Well, you could put your rabbit crow in 1.
Oh, right.
You put your plot there. Yeah, I just don't know if it's worth screwing over the lizards so royally.
Okay. You say getting screwed over, sure, it's a disadvantage to only have 2 cards, but it would be, I think, strictly better for the crows game to get an extra card turn 1, since you can still put a crow in clearing 1. As opposed to the sort of para-game reason not to, which is the lizard would be mad at you.
It's not really it's not, though, because you're coming at it from the perspective of, the objectively, what is the most benefit for me right now? The problem is everyone at the table is a real person and not a root bot, and so they're gonna get mad when you do that, and so they're going to, when they have the opportunity, they're going to make your life more difficult. And as the 2 worst factions at the table, I really don't think you need to be antagonizing each other like that.
But they can get mad when the birds come in to kill their lizards. They
would love that.
They can get mad when Wooden Alliance tries to revolt on their clearing, whatever. There are plenty of other things that make
The
lizards
game
mad.
hasn't even started, though, and they're mad.
They can get mad at other people over the course of the game.
Dude, I don't think it's worth the one card.
It's a quick and easy job. Alright, we can disagree on this, obviously. I think I'm going to get a little bit greedy and go for the extortion on the lizards, and then put my spare crow in one.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, if I'm the Lizards player, like, I'm coming for you, dude. You know, like, the Lizards already have it rough. You know, they need a long game. They need the game to go long. They're going to need the game to go even longer if they want a chance to win that. I might not come for you right away, but you watch your back. When you least expect it, I'll be there. All right, we can go with 7 if you want. So we can go Crow and 7 with the extortion. And then we'll put our... That kind of limits our remaining options, though, because we wanted to move this Crow with the thing to plot. Although I guess what we could do... No, we wouldn't want to plot in 12. Because I was going to say, we could get up a plot so that we could craft the T immediately. But I don't know if we can take the raft and do that on the first turn. So, like...
So you're saying you would move to 12 and plot there, and that would be your T strat?
We're already getting an extra card from the... Hold on. We're getting an extra card from the Fairy, right?
Yeah.
Then we're getting an extra card from Extortion.
Oh, yeah.
Then we're drawing 2.
Heck yeah, baby.
What do we need this card from the Lizards for?
Well, who knows what it is? It could be good.
What are you hoping to get?
What outcast suit did they choose again? Bunny?
They chose Bunny, yes.
Well, maybe they have... Hey, cards are cards, man.
But I'm just saying this kind of restricts our plotting now, right? Because ideally, you know, in an ideal world, we put out multiple plots on the first turn. We double plot on the first turn. We go... Oh yeah, so maybe we don't draw. And we go move, plot with our exert. We don't have to do that, obviously, but
That'd be great, though, if we can feel free to exert, because we're getting all these extra cards.
But we can't plot here because
you said we can't plot here
well, the
because
birds
attack,
come and
right?
kill it. We won't be able to use the craft. But we want a mouse plot ideally in order to craft that root T. But that's not a good spot for it either. So maybe we just kind of give up on that for right now. Although, is there going to be a better turn than the first turn? Something to think about.
I don't know if we're ever gonna be able to cement root T in this game with all the mouse clearings being right next to the birds and rats.
Kind of just got to keep throwing them out and hope one of them sticks at some point.
Yeah, I think the only way we're getting root T consistently is if we start in a mouse clearing, like start in 5 or something, and then craft right away.
The question is, would we rather? Yeah, because the rabbit seems easier to obtain. Would we rather do that? Starting in 5 means we probably lose it though, on the first turn to rats. You know?
I mean, you could cover it with some more crows, but I don't think that's going to be worth it when you could cover what you're going to have.
Well, you want to
an
protect your
unflipped
extortion.
Yeah.
This is kind of tricky actually, because T is going to be hard to craft, so it probably does make sense to try and just get it right away.
But if you craft T, the rats are definitely going to go after you to try and loot you.
Ooh, forgot about looting. Yeah, never mind. Don't craft T. Hold T for the whole game. That is a good point. We're going to go back to 7. Man, how did I forget? Man, that's crazy. How did I forget about that? Yeah, I'm a self-proclaimed looting specialist, as my title goes for the community plays root game, and I forgot about looting. I've been looking for looting opportunities for the entirety of that game as the rats, and I forgot about looting. Yeah, no, this probably makes the most sense then.
Yeah, this feels good.
Although, I guess you can make the argument for here because you wanted to... Oh, you can't do that.
No.
Here then.
What would
Ooh, and then plot there.
And then
get a free card when they
there.
guess bomb, and it's not a bomb.
That's not a bad idea.
It's just really terrorizing the lizards, though. Really antagonizing them.
That may be a bit much.
Maybe here. You flip the plot, recruit rabbit, move plot. Move plot. Maybe you don't take the raft on the first turn.
Plotting all over the lizard zone is actually probably pretty good because they're not going to be able to attack it for for the free points as easily as
Yeah, and they're not willing to guess it either.
Yeah.
This is probably safe space to. So let's do like a mock turn 1. Okay, so we're gonna go through and discard cards now. Starting with the crows, we'll work backwards. I think probably we don't. We want to recruit and rabbit. I think
Yeah,
we
I think so.
We beef up this plot. We can move all of them into here for another. Or sorry, we move one into here for a plot. So I think we probably keep the T for a later craft. We probably keep the partisans because we want to craft that, and then we probably keep this so we can recruit and rabbit. I think that's what I'd go with. The ambush is nice.
Oh, no.
But like,
it's not worth it.
It goes back and it's nice to know, like, if we discard it on the first turn, it's nice to know that no one will have the fox ambush.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't really see a big use for it. Like, recruiting in fox isn't super great. It messes with oppression a little bit, but like, who really cares? I think that's probably the setup I like. So
recruiting fox isn't terrible if you want to infiltrate the lizard zone a little bit more, but I still think I prefer bunny on the first turn.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. So we would put these. Are we set on that?
Yeah.
All right, so these would go back in the deck, I guess, if we're doing it like how you actually play. So like a mock crow's first turn would be to discard tunnels. Well, we don't need to discard it, and then we would recruit a crow here, 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 and then my inclination would be you flip this, you leave one to defend it, you move here, you plot once, you move here, you plot twice. Because then you have enough warriors to plot there.
So that you're using your exert, but you're setting yourself up to use the riverboat next turn.
Yes, you would use exert, and you would get a card back from the ferry because no one else can get it on this first turn. I think that's probably what I would do. And you get 2 plots, which makes you harder to deal with out the gate.
Now, would you worry though the rats would come and attack that clearing 1 right away?
Clearing 1. This?
Yeah.
No. Well, I mean, they have 2 prowess. I guess maybe they could.
I mean, obviously, we wouldn't know for sure they have 2 prowess, but if you're picking rats for seed, they're gonna have prowess item to craft.
But most like the rats have really 2 main openings. I guess there's maybe 3. The 2 I like are Rowdy to get the cards and Grandiose to get the turn 1 stronghold.
I would personally probably go Grandiose to get a stronghold down, but
well, let's look at our cards here. Remember, we have 3.
We're
fox
talking crows
crafts.
now. We can't talk about the rats cards.
Okay, but we'll talk about it in a bit. I think the rats, because if they go Grandiose, that's a real, like, they're only going to have 7 rats on their first turn. That's a pretty aggressive first turn, doesn't it feel like to you? And that's a face down plot. They're getting a guaranteed extra hit. I don't think they can afford to lose that many troops that early, and I don't think they're going to be that concerned with crows. So
even with the birds all the way on the other side of the board?
Yeah, I don't think so, because you have to understand also that it's the crows. So like, you can leverage that a lot of the time at the beginning of the game. Like, people will let you get to 22. It's 22 to 30 that's the hard part. So like, you got to be aggressive with your plotting and get there as quickly as possible, and then try and close out the game with the crafted improvements that you've accumulated throughout the game. I think that's the first turn I would go with. I like to, plot aggressively with crows.
That makes sense.
Give them more than 1, so that way if you lose 1, it's not the end of the world. So I think that's what we keep with crows. We move on to lizards now. Obviously, saboteurs is not being kept.
Right.
We keep the 2 fox cards because they match our starting clearing, and then as of these 2, I think we probably keep master engravers. It would be neat if we could craft it at a later point. Although unfortunately we're getting extorted. So, maybe we don't, because like, giving crows master engravers kind of sucks. Oh no, probably giving them a flat point is better for them in this case, because master engravers is going to be hard to set up.
Yeah, especially in this.
Yeah, so I think we probably get rid of these 2. Yeah, exactly, that's what I mean, because of the distribution of mouse clearings.
And it's still a random card that gets extorted.
Yes, it is random. I think that's our starting hand.
We would still prefer master engravers.
Yeah. If the dominance gets extorted, it's going to get discarded at some point, unless the lizards are really trying to mess us up and they just want to hold it in their hand the whole time. Woodland
That would be
Alliance.
evil.
Yeah, it would be. So we keep the 2 birds, obviously, going for that turn 1 revolt. I think we get rid of tunnels, and I think we want to hold on to Charm Offensive. Although, no, because there's 5 people. The odds we're the ones that draw Charm Offensive are pretty low. But, like, do we care if the other factions have Charm Offensive? Lizards with Charm Offensive is kind of... it's alright. The Lizards don't want to accelerate anyone else's game by giving them extra points. The only factions that I'd probably feel comfortable doing Charm Offensive with are Birds and Woodland Alliance. So maybe we could say we put it back in the deck and hope we draw it. It's
We'll
only the
probably
one copy.
have 2 cards per turn for most of the game.
Yeah, well, we're going to try our best to get 3. We're going to try our best to get a second base.
Sure, but
Quickly. I mean, I don't think it's that big of a deal. If you put Charm Offensive back in the deck, you're holding onto a bag. I guess that's something. Birds with Charm Offensive are kind of scary, though. I don't like the options that gives their decree.
crafting early with Woodland Alliance again invites looting from the rats too, depending on where we set up. So
Yeah,
I think Charm Offensive.
I wasn't saying any of these are going to get crafted. They're going to get, they're getting mobilized, right? Because
you're thinking strictly for...
we should decide if we want to. I mean, we would have to look at the board after Crows and Lizards' turn, but it's probably going to look a lot like this. Would we want to go for the boat builder setup? You think? Hold that in our hand and hope we can get a base in 11 or 6.
Definitely, I would definitely do that.
Definitely do that.
Yeah.
It makes sense, right? Because the Crows, well, they can recruit wherever they want, but are they really going to want to use their first turn to battle you?
No, I don't think so.
Unless it's in like a super threatening clearing, right? And even then, they might want to try and force a faction that cares more about cards to get taxed doing it
Absolutely.
than do it themselves.
Yeah, crows are going to want to get their plots out on their first turn.
So I think that's good, and I think we could probably go for the boat builders. We didn't see Saboteurs in our hand, so obviously it could get Saboteured pretty quickly. We didn't see it between our hand and supporters, so it could get Saboteured pretty quickly. We know that a Saboteurs just went back into the deck from the Lizards, but no one else knows that.
And you could maybe try to leverage putting pressure on a certain faction to stop somebody from using Saboteurs on you. Like, say the Birds craft Saboteurs somehow. Then, if you're over in the Rats area and you keep sending... I guess if you're near the Birds, actually, and they craft Saboteurs, then you could say, if you let us have our boat builders, we'll spread over into the Rats area instead.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to not really give Woodland Alliance the time of day when they try and talk about stuff just because of the Woodland Alliance, right? They can't really contribute anything to the table in 95% of cases, maybe more, in terms of the board state and the policing. They kind of just do their own thing and get in everyone's way.
Getting other people's way is better than getting your way, though.
If they're making a suggestion for someone else to do something, I'm also, a little suspicious of that, but I'll maybe hear it. But usually they're not going to, let me keep this clearing because I can provide this benefit. There's really no benefit most times. You don't want to give them their good clearings. You don't want to let them keep their good crafts. There's no benefit to keeping them around in 95% of cases.
Yeah.
So we can do it.
I still think you gamble on trying to get boat builders for as long as you can.
Yeah, I think so. So now we can go on to birds. We got to keep League of Adventurous Mice for our move column.
Mm-hmm.
We got to keep a bird card. I'd keep the ambush just to know where it is.
Sure.
And then the third card is probably going to be another bird, I would guess. The only bad thing is if we have a bird in hand and then draw another bird, we can only add one card to the decree and it has to be a bird.
But there's no bunny clearings near us. It would be a terrible idea.
Yeah, the bunny's not really doing much for us. So I think we go with Arms Trader.
Yeah, because we want Soup Kitchens to be in the deck, so hopefully we can craft it later.
Obviously, yeah. So we return these to the deck. Alright, and now we just have to decide on our hand for rats, and that'll be the draft.
So obviously, we're keeping the anvil.
Yes, Anvil stays. That's our turn 1 prowess item. False Orders, great for rats. Fox Partisans, great for rats. I think Travel Gear, we can probably say, is out of the picture. Because it's a command item. It's like, do you really need the command compared to other stuff?
It's a bunny craft, right?
Yeah. You're probably going to be able to loot a command item at some point. People are more loosey-goosey with the command crafts compared to prowess. You'll probably be able to find one command item at some point.
Yeah, with the Woodland Alliance and Crows both in the game, I would expect something like that to get crafted at some point that we can loot.
So let's say Travel Gear's out. Now the question really becomes, do we keep Root T over one of these Fox cards? I don't know that we do. Reason being, Route T, you have to set up another stronghold. You'd probably want to go for 5, and that's probably going to be able to be pretty well defended, honestly. But it doesn't give us another prowess off the bat. It is nice, although it is nice to get that early, and then you just have to hope you draw another T or a crossbow.
My game plan here is the rats, I think, would be to definitely keep the T and then go right into trying to build a base in 5. And then I think I'd incite 5 to see if I can roll the dice and get either a T or a hammer from 5 early.
So you discard partisans or false orders to put up a mob that's probably going to not survive the turn?
With the rats there? Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I guess it might
I'm
survive the
going
turn.
up to 5 to build the base anyway.
Okay, 2 bigger considerations than the mob not surviving the turn. 1, you can draw the bag and shoot yourself in the foot. 2, you're giving the birds, most importantly, but any of the factions, free points to accelerate a game in which you already need it to go longer than normal.
Yeah, but you're going to have a hard time getting up your strongholds here, I think. You're not going to be able to recruit as much. If you want to go lavish, get rid of that bag, you can. If you want to do...
That's a whole turn, though, when you could be picking a different mood.
What is it that allows you to remove mobs to...
Bitter.
Bitter, yeah.
Well, no, you can't, because that's tied to the hammer, and we're crafting the hammer on the first turn.
Ooh.
I think, personally, I would keep the T, and I'd like to craft it. I don't think I would go for the mob, because the T is great. You know, getting that stronghold there on the first turn, getting the T up is very nice. I'm not sure what I'd keep between false orders and fox partisans. Fox partisans would be better if we had more of a fox backline to guarantee that we can clear out clearings more reliably. It's really only applicable to 4. That is one clearing, though, that we can say, like, okay, if you go there, we're probably going to be able to, if we really need to, clear out that clearing for a press. False orders, though, is nice for freeing up that cardboard, and we could maybe really smack a roost pretty hard, or if the lizards need to be smacked at some point, that brutalizes the lizards, honestly.
Well, you can brutalize the lizards pretty well with fox partisans, too, though.
Yeah.
Remind me, what is the bag mood?
That is relentless.
Okay.
So you don't want to draw the bag for the ruins. That's your best mood most of the time, or, you know, provided you have a good setup to actually use it.
Right.
Yeah, I think I keep the T. I think we go for a Grandiose opening. I pretty much always open Grandiose with rats. I know, you know, Rowdy's nice, and that's fun, and you got other mood options as well.
If we were closer to the lizards, I think Rowdy would be a better idea, maybe, if we could get in there and get the double draw from Rowdy.
Yeah, the double draw is always kind of greedy, too.
Yeah, what are the lizards going to do?
Oh, no, I know. But I just mean in general. So looking at the other moves, I don't really think there's another one we'd want to open with on our first turn. I think probably just Grandiose and Rowdy would be the 2. Jubilant, no. We don't want to put mobs out. Wrathful, what are we doing with that? You know, and Relentless, we want to keep active for it. Wrathful also is important to note. We should probably keep around just because the Alliance is strong and we're probably going to want to crack a base at some point. Yeah. Wrathful's really good for that. Having Partisans is also good for that because the Woodland Alliance sees that we have Partisans and that limits clearings they want to put bases in. So honestly, False Orders is good for a Woodland Alliance base too.
I think False Orders...
False Orders is more universally applicable.
Yes, that is exactly what I was going to say.
Although someone could saboteur that maybe more readily than Partisans, but I think probably hold on to False Orders. Oh, but there's 2 copies of False Orders. There's only one file. Well, there's 3 Partisans, just different suits. I think we probably keep False Orders.
I'd keep False Orders.
I think we decide on. I think we'd probably end up on these 3. I like what we've put together here. I think this was productive tournament practice, and I think hopefully it'll be not terrible to listen to. I mean, my more recent videos have been scripted, so this is going back to the more just kind of rambly, off-the-cuff type of thing. So if you're newer to the channel and you don't like this, sorry, this is not the plan going forward. I plan to script most of my stuff and, you know, edit them more heavily, like I did with my 2 more recent videos. The rest of the Drafting Academy series is going to be in that style as well. I'm just not quite sure when I'll get around to posting those videos. I just wanted to get one more of these in before we headed off to RootCon, and Perry happened to be over, so it felt like the perfect time to get this in. take a quick overhead view of the board.
But if you do like this kind of rambling nonsense, we do also stream tabletop games of Root sometimes with our friends Rick and Jamie.
Although I'm not sure how frequently we'll be doing that now that the semester's start back up, but we'll see. Maybe we could. We could maybe see about streaming digital. We'll certainly try and record, I think, digital for a game or two because we can actually get Rick to do it because he'll be in the same house as us.